Good morning to all of you. First of all, I want to say thank you to Professor Mario Mignone for the invitation to take part in an important and interesting event as that. I'm honored to be here and discuss with you, esteemed professors, scholars, and intellectuals. Then I'm asked to publicly say thank you to my longtime friend, not Algerian, neither Italian, but Mediterranean friend Amara, who knew me about 20 years ago, many years ago, for your friendship, esteem, and support. I really apologize for yesterday dinner. I wasn't with you because coordinating a team of young analysts involved 25 hours in monitoring the jihadi sphere, especially the social network and platform as Twitter across the web. And yesterday, as soon as the first news about the Paris attack appeared, I began to connect with them to follow the evolution of the in-progress situation, to capture significant contents, collective imageries, and about the mood, especially of the group of self-proclaimed jihadi lions of the web, and or other groups of followers as proto-jihadists. Finally, I apologize for my tiredness, but for the same reason I didn't sleep. In this situation, it's very important information gathering to understand, and not automatic, but human information gathering, to understand what's happened and what changed. Well, the current presentation aim is to represent the complexity of the dark side of the Mediterranean scenario, focusing on three different criminal phenomena: organized crime, mafia, and terrorism, populating the same playground, usually not competing, but directly or indirectly interacting, and make business, criminal business, and or share targets together. Because of the yesterday attacks, I decided to change a little bit the structure of my presentation to give more space to the evolving phenomenon of terrorism in the Mediterranean region, showing the impact of its rhetorics and narratives to create consent, reinforce identity, and trigger to action through the 10 years process of moving from the jihad to the cyber jihad. To do this, I selected some key media products useful to support the main steps of this path. So let's start talking. Let's start talking on the research approach promoted at the Crime Lab, which is based on interaction between practice and research, because it's a research center at the CEPOL system, the European Police College, EU agency. To do this, I selected some EU projects. I took part as expert on organized crime, mafia, and terrorism. First of all, the quantitative approach. This is a model, a system dynamic model used in a CRISADMIN project, critical infrastructure simulation of advanced models of interconnected network resilience, concerned the evaluation of impacts of large catastrophic events such as terrorist attacks on critical infrastructure. The qualitative approach, as in the research review and social auditing practices to combat exploitative brokering in southern country, a project achieved with the financial support from the prevention of and fight against crime program, the European Commission. The proposals target on trafficking in human beings, aiming to contribute to trafficking prevention and victim identification, referral by combating exploitative brokering practices through social auditing. But also a multidisciplinary and comparative approaches, such as the project to support to the reform of the criminal justice system in Georgia. This was a very important project because because a notable achievement of this project has been the first juvenile code in the Republic of Georgia, adopted by the Georgian Parliament on 12th June 2015. And last but not least, these are some researchers who described the activity during here monitoring the evaluation of threat relating to, in particular, to terrorism. And from this brief list, you can see how terrorism became important in the integration and interaction with technology and technology development, especially for mobile devices, as I show you later. What this kind of approach to research, to create, to promote, to support a proactive response, just for forward direction, forecasting, preventing, containing, and fighting. Containing is a very important concept, because today, dealing with the complex criminal phenomena, a pragmatic approach has to be based, on my personal opinion, to the aim of containing and not fighting or disrupting, because phenomena with a high level of infiltration, just like the mafia, are very hard, and maybe after 50 years of infiltration, impossible to exfiltrate from the territories. The analysis is based on a on a concept of three-dimensionality of a complex criminal phenomenon, which focus on the subject, his behavior, his criminal behavior and background, on the relationship, the tie-up, the nature of the agreement, the path, which is different in each structure, and the environment, the subculture, the system, the set of these values, the roles, and so on. Using a standard model, a standard approach given by the strategic studies, or the possibility, based on the possibility to analyze this phenomenon using a three-level approach. Which one is the strategic one, the tactical level, and the operative level? Okay, so what is now the main threat in the Mediterranean region? The criminal complex phenomenon. But what is this? It's given by three different categories: organized crime, mafia, and terrorism. And we have to recognize it. Why? Because Italy has a specific role in the middle of the Mediterranean. It can be considered as an hub country, a country in which you can find maybe all the most important mafias and organized crime groups operating in the Mediterranean area, from Balkans and Caucasus, from Africa, and so on. This is just a picture. Both pictures are given by Limes. The review was cited before, the geopolitics review, and this is a picture in which you can see immediately the interaction between some organized crime group and mafia abroad and the Italian one. I just when I research, when I study, when I analyze a phenomenon, I try to deeply understand what is this. Because if I have to find, if I need to find the tools, if I to advise on the tools to be used to fight it, it's very important that I understand what I'm looking at. So, organized crime group has a specific task, an high level of criminal specific skill. Is based on a system of functions. It's a small group, 3 or 12 individuals. Its structure is horizontal. Sometimes leaderless or with a strategic leader. Is characterized by the high level of flexibility. Dynamism is not integrated into the surrounding area. Is based on the business deal, and it acts in a very tactical way. Tactical action serialized, just like the armored attacks. but being based on the business deal, given it a high level of vulnerability. Why? Because, for example, in the mafia entity, I always use the concept of entity, because today there are several structures and a way to interact and to build associated entities. It operates on a multitask path. Inside of it, you can find a different level of criminal skills. It's a system of roles, not function roles. It is a way to interconnected families, and so you can find several models of hierarchical structure, not just the pyramidal one. It's based on a long-term strategy, which is it always is based on the progressive accumulation of money, and in the perverted loop of money and power, and is well integrated into the surrounding area, because it's based on a blood type, pet of honor. It describes a system of values, a subculture, and a specific language. Also here you can find tactical action, but they are mentioned in a long-term strategy, and it is very and it expresses a high level of impermeability. Most of you know this kind of Italian mafias very well. So I decided to show you, to take for example two kind of mafia, not Italian. The Albanese mafia, because has a good projection in the Mediterranean, across Cyprus and Turkey, and the Nigerian one, at least the Georgian one. Just to show you the different kind of structure, the language and the system of symbols. This is a typical structure in which you can find a sort of double directorate, and this structure is findable especially in Valona and in Tirana. There are three kinds of subjects who can be used to project criminal interest in other country, and is based on the Kanun, the clinic pet of honor, has blood ties, but the most relevant thing is that you can find three models of structure: one transnational, one urban, and one occasional near the coast. And take attention, please, to the role of the couriers and the words used to address them. Donkeys, surveyors and farmers. Donkeys because they don't have any kind of possibility to manage the drug, manage the women that they bring for sex protection. Surveyors as the capacity to manage, to create relationship and to discuss about criminal business. And farmers, in a symbolic way, are the ones who can create, establish a relation on the territory in which it has to project itself. And another significant difference than maybe the Italian one is that the pusher in the drug system is rarely Albanian, but often North African, because he can interact with other structure managed by people from the Maghreb region. This is a synthetic representation of the main criminal asset, the traffic of human beings, the trafficking in minors, the sex employment, prostitution, and so on, and the need for sure to create a solid basement from the criminal business, so the money laundering and the joint money laundering with other structures, just like the Pugliese Corona. It's a projection of a small group of people from Puglia in the Albanian region. That structure is very different than the Nigerian mafia. Nigerian mafia, two key points, the two main most important cities of Nigeria for criminal business are Abuja for prostitution, and especially Lagos from corruption, money laundering, and so on. This structure is completely different than the first one because it reflects the model of manage life, the system of relation typical of the Nigerian society. I propose two kind of structure, the black cakes, and both two are similar than a plane in a symbolic way. And which is considered a most developed form of mafia structure because in the symbolism of the plane has two directorates working parallel in Gene A and Gene B. But this is a representation of the main criminal business of Nigerian mafia. And this is an interesting picture in which I try to represent the sexploitation for prostitution and the role of the voodoo culture applied to young women to manage their will and to force them to prostitute, with the role of a transgenerational role of the madame, which was a prostitute before and after it became a manager of the prostitution. Then he can transfer the experience and make this kind of sexploitation more softly. And with the voodoo, the Nigerian madam be in contact with the Italian madam, and they can control all the family of the victims in her country. This is a completely different structure, the Georgian mafia. The Georgian mafia is very flexible, is characterized by a sort of intense mobility and nomadism. And for example, the projection in the southern part of the Europe and the Mediterranean has during the investigation revealed three main cities: Rome, Zurich, and the Principality of Monaco. And the system of tips in law is structured in level, but in a very there are many operators that can be managed a percentage of the criminal business. That's because they can move very fastly in all the European countries. But during the last years, we experienced the moving from transnationalization of mafia to globalization. Everything starts maybe on 26 years ago during the fall of the Berlin Wall, and this is an interesting wiretapping between two Neapolitan members of Camorra, for example, in which one you can find an element of the future development of the Camorra or the Ndrangheta too. That is the targeting of small and medium-sized enterprises, just like discos, bar and pizzerias. But we have to consider that the European scenario, and so the Mediterranean as a part of the European scenario, is characterized by, as given by the Europol, the last report. This is the data relative to 2013, but the report is 2014, estimated 3,600 organized crime groups operating all over Europe. So, let me say, how much is stupid after the Charlie Hebdo attack, for example, when I watch on TV many journalist investigation on the capacity to buy a Kalashnikov and a K-42 across the web. I don't think that having 3,600 organized crime group all over Europe is difficult. It's necessary to buy it on the web, on the dark web. And that's why, for example, there is in the middle of the Europe availability of this kind of criminal tools. But now we must consider that the mafia are stronger, more complex, more branched and more powerful than other organized crime groups. I quickly move on because I just want to show you briefly another kind of evolution of mafia, especially addressed in Italy for the 'Ndrangheta, the so-called fifth mafia or the invisible one, when mafia become a sort of enterprise infiltrating the system, especially the small and medium enterprises. But okay, I just want to bring you on the terrorist entity. From the jihad to cyber jihad, I selected a few videos to show you how much how is important to the capacity to create a collective imaginary in today Islamist. I want to call it Islamist and not Islamic terrorism. To create an entity, a transnational entity based on the digital individualism and given by the interaction to a do-it-yourself long-term violent enculturation, the process of self-radicalization or radicalization across the web. I call this process the metamorphosis of globalized jihadism. I want to show you I want to start from the statement of al-Zawahiri in 2005 when he posted on internet this statement. But it's important. We have underestimated this kind of statement because during the move from an analogic culture to a digital culture, we are underestimated that the new battlefield is not only in terms of technology, but in particular as cyber-social environment. So we have to use new tools to understand the complexity of this environment, to understand the behavioral triggers and so on. From Al-Qaeda to Islamic State, the metamorphosis. Now, this is just to represent you that we used to forget the impact, the capacity to create consent of a terrorist group when it is not on the top of the news. But for example, this is a representation, a very good study from Daniel Kilmage, who represented in 2008 the capacity, the media capacity and media galaxy of Al-Qaeda, and all of this stuff was not disappeared, but is still moving and creating entities that can be hybridated and can become something more new. What is the key factor of the mediamorphosis? The new terrorism is based on a media weaponization that is not the concept of dual using or the use of media for propaganda, but is the strong identity based on cyber culture between terrorism and communication. So the deep core of the medium transformation is its identity as a weapon. I would show you the difference between these 10 years. The last video I would show you is for the sake of Allah feasibilillah, based on the individualism and the multi-target, and express all the capacity of polysemic dissemination of the Islamic State. This is the structure. It was interesting, but without watching the video, it's hard to do it. And this is the do-it-yourself radicalism for a way, so you can find the language of your video. You can find the MP3 to set as ringtones and so on. You need a testimonial, a former Deutsch rapper. So, thank you.